Okay, welcome. I'm Robert Johnson, also known as the Crazy Corman, and I'm here with Chaz Neal, who's known as the Urban Conservative. Just going to be going over some recent events here in Minnesota and throughout the nation. Just to talk about that a little bit, for those of you that don't know, the Minnesota House was tied 67-67 until they figured out that one of the DFL guys cheated, and then they had to call a special election. There was a fight over that went up to the Supreme Court. The governor called the election early. And oh, by the way, there's another seat that was being contested because
Thank
uh,
you.
20 ballots that got thrown out in a race that was won by 14.
Right.
And so that court case, the judge said, hey, it stands because they found some of the people allegedly, but there's a little bit more problems with the voter rolls. After they realized that it wasn't going to be 67-67 for this bit, the Republicans said, hey, we're going to try to do some stuff. And the DFL said, we're not going to show up. So that way, we're going to deny a quorum until it becomes an even split again. And so basically, both sides were uh, fighting over who gets the toys in the sandbox because not much actually came out of the eventual agreement that just happened. So I'm gonna let Chaz speak on a little bit of that real quick.
Well, like the whole thing that it came down to me with the power sharing agreement was like what had really changed since the start of the legislative session. I know that both sides, like the Democrats they didn't want to, they weren't, the Republicans weren't willing, I shouldn't say aren't, they weren't willing to seat Brad Tabke. Um, I don't know honestly what's changed. Um, I know that this power sharing agreement came out. A lot of people were baffled. A lot of people were, especially when you pay attention to politics. A lot of people were like, "Damn, who are they? Who is it a win for?" Because even since this power sharing agreement has been shared, um, you're having one side, the Democrats talk about they were the winners, and then they were talking about they had got over on Republicans, and then they explained it. Well, then the Republicans were like, "Well, we got over on the DFL," and no, it's nobody honestly won because yes, you got Lisa Demuth became the speaker, but honestly, it's like with just a face. You know what I'm saying? Because she has no power. She can't. You read the what goes down into it, and you're like, damn, what can she do? What can she not do? And it's really she can't. She can't do shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's to me, it's like, did they stop it for because they already know that they can't win, and the next 2 years are going to be crazy? Because honestly, you look at the executive branch, and you see all the policies he's doing. I shouldn't say policies, the orders that he's doing, and he's really basically flipping a lot of the things that they done internally in Minnesota, and it takes the other side to overturn that. You know what I'm saying? So that's where it gets me at.
Oh, definitely. My biggest thing is there's laws like the Constitution actually lays out in Minnesota that they shall meet according to whatever the statute is, and then the statute says, hey, here's how long you're supposed to meet, here's where you're supposed to meet, and they failed to do any of that. And they even went and had their own super secret swearing in ceremony. They never presented their certificates. And even Steve Simon argued in his brief is that there's basically no House members until it's organized and that happens.
Right.
So the hearing they just had over Steve Simon's powers, that's what the state was arguing on where he gets his powers. It's the same argument I've given to the GOP. The problem is now you're trying to recall them for what, not showing up and not doing those things. But
I'm gonna take it a second because I don't honestly believe that every GOP is behind this recall movement. You know what I'm saying? It's coming out slowly in the newspapers. I won't. I'll just say media. I won't say newspapers. With Action for Liberty, and then you see that there's even a difference between the Minnesota GOP, Action for Liberty, and then really House Republicans because all three don't, in my eyes, and maybe I'm wrong, but I honestly, when you look at it on paper, they don't agree, and it's like there's such a divide, and it's like where do we as people, we come in.
But they had a lot of independents that were, hey, the Constitution says you shall do this, and like there was a reason why you're supposed to recall them then
Right,
for basically abandoning your post, right? If you have a job offer and you don't show up, well, they were prepared to the DFL was prepared to keep that going. There would have been a reason to recall. So when you submit those petitions, now it's moot because the House it can determine its own members. The House has already accepted those certificates and those oaths as valid. And at this point, you've already accepted them back. So what are you going to do? Say, oh, they should have. It doesn't rise to malfeasance or nonfeasance because you've allowed it. And this sets precedence for the future where if a party wants to just skip out, they can just skip out. Because the reason why you're supposed to be able to compel is that if, let's say, there was three parties, right, and you had to have all three parties there because they each had, uh, let's say, 45 people or whatever it is that adds up to, you know what I mean, is
right,
that you can compel them to be there to either abstain or vote yes or no, um, to do their duty because it's only allowed to be in session for so long.
right.
And there's a lot of people behind that recall movement that were independents too.
There is, and see, it's in my eyes, I shouldn't say in my eyes, but in my opinion, there's still reasons to do the recall. You know what I mean? And like, you just have to change the reasoning. You know, I don't know if you can exactly use the same references of why you're using the recall, why they're doing it, but I do believe that it is good for not only just politics, but the people of Minnesota. You know what I'm saying? Of like, I don't honestly believe that we all voted this. We all voted for this. You know what I'm saying? It's like I do believe that we wanted better, but I don't believe this is what we wanted. This is not where um in a time where you can see immigrants from another country be treated over Americans. You know what I'm saying? It's like I think a lot of people went in here blindly, and to me, a lot of people are still going blindly because till this day, I'm still even with elections coming up. In Minneapolis City Council, even in there's a special election in Ramsey for county commissioner, and there some black man is going to be the could be the first black man in Ramsey County. And my thing of it is, why do you got to be a Democrat? You know what I'm saying? Because in my eyes, when you see people like Curtis Johnson or Chantel Allen and them promoting and endorsing a candidate, and it's like, wait, why would we go with people that are fraudulent in our communities and endorse and expect their endorsement to be positive? I honestly, it makes me, yeah, I just
That's
go,
the opportunity that the GOP lost here because what they had the opportunity to do is with Steve Simon violating the laws because basically he's supposed to have compelled them basically to be there. He couldn't have presented
right,
their certificates like he did for absent members. There's a whole list of things between that and the problems with the election rolls because there are some problems with the election rolls. In the partisan politics that he was playing with his role, I think that there was enough grounds to even recall him. And Governor Walz is for different things because
right,
Governor Walz, his ties to, I'm sorry, the Chinese Communist Party, especially the U of M, Fang Li going over to the Wuhan Institute to help create it up. Was he the CIA agent that they were talking about? I don't know. But it's on record that the U of M was involved with this, and now same thing with the Hormel Institute from the U of M. And so these are all things that are on record, and I think that do need to be answered. And on top of that, the nonfeasance and malfeasance for the people that he's appointed who have no experience and are absolutely ruining the programs, even though that he knows that they're bad people. And we have DHS whistleblowers saying, hey, they're going to do the same thing.
right. And that's what I don't understand is like even with this reelection campaigns. I see, Phrase got out there for, a third, Omar Fati. And these are all names that are part of, feeding our future, at least that we know allegedly, you know what I'm saying? We know Frey and some of them have actually came out and been called, are going to be called, maybe potentially be called as witnesses um, in the in my eyes, this is the biggest. Everybody says that Derek Chauvin was the biggest trial in Minnesota. Honestly, I don't believe that. I did believe that at one time. You know what I'm saying? Because I sat out there for 6 weeks during the Derek Chauvin trial. So I believed that that was the biggest trial in our era. But now I believe in that's Amy Bach, who is the executive director, or whatever they want to call her, at Feeding Our Future. She was like the head of it, you know, and then not only just went to Amy Bach, but it went to DHS, it went to Minnesota Department of Education. Uh, so yeah, do we need these stop payments so we can figure out who is real and who's out here being, you know, fraudulent? And that's my thing of it is you have people like Sharon Ross was just pled guilty to Feeding Our Future. Um, she had the Twin Cities Refuge nonprofit in St. Paul, and it's just showing me the kind of time that she got for the millions that she took. It doesn't add up. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, where is the accountability, and especially the responsibility, because you played along in a pyramid scheme that could literally go to the top, and it's bigger than Amy Bach. It's bigger than, you know, the 70 defendants that pled guilty, because at the end of the day, somebody allowed you. I shouldn't say pled guilty, but were charged. Uh, somebody allowed you. They had used their political clout, their political fame, to allow you to be able to go places and do things that only they could be able to do. And like
That's
either
key right there.
right,
I think. I mean, like, they don't get the people at the top. And what they do is they roll the people down below to build a case up against the other people. So all those plea deals then get rolled for, you know what I mean? So what
right.
accountability do we actually get? You know, and that my thing with the Republicans is that you had a chance to really unite a lot of different factions, and you chose to play whatever game of pick me that you did. And they were even using some of them, not Lisa or Walter, but other people were using it and throwing it out there. Where you're trying to block the first minority House Speaker in Minnesota and all that jazz. And you saw some people starting to throw it out there too after she got elected.
But
That they were playing that game. She came out and said, "No, don't. It's meritocracy." But
right, and I agree. You know what I'm saying? Like, my thing of it is Lisa DeMotte has a hell of a story, you know, and for the fact that people want to use that she's black now, where were the people like 12 years ago that when nobody was around and she was putting her hat into the school board up where she lives? I think it's Cold Spring or Cold Stone or something like that, uh, where she lives or whatever. But it's like, nobody was saying she was black then. Nobody was saying she was black 2 years ago. You know what I'm saying? It's like now she's black, because before she was just a color of woman. She was a woman of color.
just don't be bashing DEI and then being like, "By the way, we got our DEI pick." That's just not. It's not
But you know what?
logical.
I say it like this, right? And my thing is to the Republicans. You say it's a DEI pick, right? But if you go by her merits and by her the level of work that she's done, I'm not disclaiming this lady. You know what I'm saying? Do I disagree with Lisa? Yes, I do, 100%. But I'm not going to sit here and stoke her up as, you know, that she got there
I'm not
by
saying
her
she was a
merits.
DEI hire, but I mean, like some of their comments were like
Right.
that they were pushing as far as like, oh, they're
Right.
just pushing back because you know what I mean. They were making some jabs.
Right. Oh
Don't
yeah,
make
no.
those jabs if you're going to get mad.
Oh, and they always that's what it's about. You know what I'm saying? It's about them, especially with Walter. You know what I'm saying? Because I think like right now there's primarily just a few House representatives that are GOP that are tweeting. You have like Harry Niska, you have Walter, you have Pam, Kristen Robbins, Mary Franson. But really, do you honestly see? Unless I'm blocked, because I just noticed a lot of representatives have me blocked, and I'm like, damn, why is that?
I just unfollowed a whole bunch of them after this whole debacle because I was actually going on the ground in Shakopee to figure out some stuff, and I know that there's at least one voter that didn't have an address. Okay, and the same name was being registered through the courts down in Blue Earth County, and it's not a common name. So that's something that'd be very easy to check into. Is just, you know what I mean, to figure out
Right.
whether or not he was even living there. But you have to have an address on your form. And then the other side of it was the hotels, which there's one I have left to verify with. The others were the owners and maintenance people living there. So I went and confirmed with these places.
Right.
Okay. Because when you see 10 people registered to a hotel,
Right.
and they have other previous addresses and you've checked, it makes you question. And so I
Right.
actually went on the ground to go check this stuff out. And it's like, she basically invalidated everything that why not just tell me not to do it? Don't play with me, because like I'm an independent out here trying to help you on this stuff, and you know what I mean. I was still going to get the voter rolls for the state because I want to know how many people that
Right.
didn't have addresses voted, or that had addresses, multiple times in there and stuff like that. Because also some of the registrations were after the election, and the only way to do that is with the driver's license. Automatic registration is that if they updated their driver's license, or they just moved to town and updated it. And most of those people did live there in town, because I did verify that. But there's a couple of them that it's questionable on, if they registered them after the fact, for the absentee ballots. And so these are questions that do need to be answered on the credibility of our system, because in health
Right.
facilities and elderly facilities, there's certain rules around how you can help them and the limitations around that. And election judges are supposed to know that and get extra training. So this is all stuff I've been working on. And it's like, well, why would I do that then for you guys? I mean, like,
Oh, right. No, no, I definitely agree there. You know what I'm saying? It's like, how can we keep on doing things? Because this is my thing of it is, right? After this power sharing agreement, I thought about 2022. And I was on Jensen's campaign. I was on Schultz. I was on Ryan Wilson. I was on some of the biggest, tickets and Minnesota politics, especially when it came to the Republican Party. Do I see myself as a Republican this year? I voted that way for some, but when it came to executive, I voted a different way. I voted independent. Uh, I do want change, but I'm tired of. This is my thing of it is. We all have stories. Just because a certain few make it, are successful, that doesn't mean that everybody behind them uh, is treated the same. Just because you might treat Dwayne Davis one way, or you might treat that's a good one because that's a gay pastor. You know what I'm saying? He a gay pastor and he married. So, oh, Kitty, my mom used to do that too. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's like, how can we think that what went on in Shakopee was even legitimate when we seen what Curtis Johnson already did? He lied about an area that he said he lived in. So you went and had people vote for a man that did not live there. You didn't do your homework. And that's not the only time that we've seen Democrats win elections and have not lived in that district.
Republicans pulled that too, though, because the lady who ran against Wilgamot or whatever up in
Yep.
St. Cloud area, her first time running, she had an address in St. Paul or Minneapolis, whatever, and there was a big suit over whether or not she lived in the district too.
Oh, okay.
So
I didn't
all
know
I'm saying is that I don't care who you are. I think that
that.
elections need to be fair, and they need to be, correct.
No, man.
Otherwise, we don't have a vote. You know what I mean? And it doesn't need to be all Republicans in there. It doesn't need to be all Democrats in there. It should be some independents in there too, because your vote should count. You know, and that's, out of the legals that are up here, how many of them voted? And I'm not saying that in a bad way. It
Right.
started off as though that there's only 80,000 of them. Well, that's only 80,000 of them that would be somehow voting. There's 400,000 of them up here total, and you go down the list, and it's like these numbers just don't add up to what you got going on. You know,
You know what really I will say about that, about the numbers when it comes to immigration. Um, I don't know what to believe. You know what I'm saying? Is like I'm somebody that has gone through 990 forms and different things and like that. And I see like the Office of New Americans. I see USAID. I see all the money that was given to BLM. I seen all the money that was given to the Minnesota Freedom Fund and the Minneapolis Foundation and all these things. And I'm like, damn, were all these designed for us not to move forward, but to move backwards? Because you look at the organizations, it seems like they're fighting, right? It seems like they're putting up a little struggle, but are they really is it really all for face? Because you see the same names and faces over and over and over and over again. Because I can bring up articles from 1990 and you see the same faces. You know what I'm saying? We just had a Minneapolis police graduation for officers. Uh, and Spike Lee was there. Or not Spike Lee. Okay, damn. But Spike Moss was
Spike
there.
Moss, and wasn't he one of the mentors for Prince?
Yeah, he was so that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of these individuals, he was actually an entertainer. He was some kind of manager or something. And it wasn't just Prince, it was like Alexander O'Neill, it was Mint Condition, it was
He did some boxing stuff too, I think too.
he did, Raphael Butler, I believe it was. Um, but that's what the crazy part for me is, because when you do your research on these people, you see that they had stature already through like different avenues. And then you see like during COVID is like when all these names got big, and then George Floyd happened, and then all these, I should say, programs, they made it easier to start nonprofits, they made it easier to get grant money, they made it easier to get PPP loans, they made it like unemployment. I mean, people were making almost I should say I was making $900 a week just being at home on unemployment. So, I mean, it literally showed you that you don't have to do nothing, but literally, I mean, because if COVID was made up in a laboratory and released, all that money was fraudulently used then, because this was a disease that they caused. And I don't want to go down this.
I think that COVID was probably from a lab here and it was brought over to China. Because when you look at some of the stuff with the National Institutes for Health, or like Fort Detrick, Maryland, how that was shut down, the military games, all that jazz. Because like we also try to have the biggest, baddest stuff ever on that side of it. So I mean, given that they have places like the New York Blood Bank, EcoHealth, and UNC Chapel Hill, places like that already working on this stuff, I just would be guessing that there was more collaboration than just the CCP. Although yes, there was collaboration with the CCP, but like Mayo Clinic actually owns a testing site over there that does worldwide testing supplies for some of this stuff.
Right. Oh no, and that's like the whole crazy part of it is like, how much does the government have a no, honestly, I know that answer. They have a big say that goes on in our program.
On the Minnesota GOP, so I'll just land my plane here, is that they really had a chance to actually have a vision beyond just now. And they always have this vision of just like you barely get something that's like a huge win that they blow out of proportion, and they're satisfied with that. It's like they raise a lot of money, they posture a lot, but it's like they don't want to actually win. And I don't know how else to put that, but I mean, they could really easily actually win over the hearts and minds of people with a really central message, but they don't. And then they all of a sudden veer off into left field on some of this stuff, like that they're doing with the MMPOA or whatever. It's just like far off, and they're hitting fouls, man.
Right.
Some of the stuff that's been coming out with like the stuff in Mankato with the AI system that they're going to have down there. I mean, me and you talked about that for years, and I've been warning that this is coming, that this AI stuff's rolling out here.
Right.
And both sides have it, both the left and the right, and the battle is who's going to be in control of it. And I really think that on the national scale too, that's the way it was. Walls like to use AI and databases for us quite a bit. And that was part of his system that he got with the Siri and whatever else, data management side of it. So I mean, the DFL was using the same things, and he would have done that nationally. So he would have been the behind the scenes type guy working with the Musk types behind the scenes to do it for the Dems. So except for they would be seeing how they could exploit the system for more money. I don't agree with everything that Elon's doing, but I was warning the people about what would happen either way. And so we're on the opposite side of it. We're on the AI going on the right side of it, and the more of the alt right almost side of it. And it's interesting to see, but I do think that the corruption needs to be exposed, especially with like USAID and all that jazz. Like in the military, we called it the golden hammer. And what that was is at the end of the quarter, if you didn't use your funding, you lose it. You couldn't roll it over. So it encouraged you to waste money, and you get something really expensive. That's the reason why we call it the golden hammers. You get like a $500 hammer that you didn't need, because then that pool of money would still be there. If you didn't use it, not only did you lose it, but also, by the way, you're still cut. When you're working on multi-million-dollar engines, you have to have that funding. So there's a lot of better ways we can even utilize the military funding.
No, and that's correct, right? And what trips me out, right? I'm sorry about stumbling my words, but it's crazy of how Minnesota House Republicans think that this power sharing agreement and the fact that they got a fraud and oversight committee, but again, there's no subpoena power. So anybody that you come and ask to speak at this thing, at this fraud and oversight committee, it's got to be voluntarily. It's going to be voluntarily. So what they're going to give up to you is going to be voluntary. You're not going to really see nobody go up there and plead the fifth, or you're not going to see people. They're just going to flat out ignore them. And now I got into it with a Republican. I don't know what the hell to call him. His name is Dustin Grage or whatever. And I said, "You think that's a win?" But it doesn't have no it doesn't have no subpoena power. So if you're asking people to come up there and speak, but why aren't they doing it voluntarily now? So you're gonna have to make people do the right thing. And if you can't make people do the right thing, no, because I've seen, how many times have we seen it where individuals take an oath on the hand of a Bible and they still lie.
Clip from them that from the DFL talking about it that I can pull up, and that's that one that Rev posted.
Yeah.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'll pull that up.
All right. Yeah, it's crazy.
Lisa Dameth was elected Speaker of the House, part of the agreement was pretty dramatic restrictions on the power of the Speaker. To give just a couple examples, and there's more restrictions than, I won't bore you with going into the minutia, but just to give you a couple examples, usually the Speaker of the Minnesota House has the power to determine what committees exist and what members sit on each committee. Speaker Dameth does not have that power. We established that in the agreement. Usually a speaker has the ability to decide which bills that are on the calendar for the day actually come up for a vote. Speaker Dameth does not have that power. Even things like running the nonpartisan departments and the administration of the House, that is all subject to power sharing between the Republican and DFL parties. So that's important power sharing agreements. Certainly was a tough pill for us to swallow, to have just one speaker and have that speaker be a Republican, but the limitations really do make Speaker Dameth the least powerful Speaker of the Minnesota House in 40 years, at least going back to that tie in 1979, if not earlier. And that's really significant.
This is a man that made a handshake. That's Stevenson. I forget what his first name is. God damn it. But I know he's a Democrat, but it's Stevenson. He did a handshake with Torkelson, who is a Republican. And there was supposed to be no funny business. It was kind of a manly, whatever, handshake. And it's like, do y'all honestly believe that nobody's going to do no snake ass shit over a handshake?
The DFL has Donald Trump's strategy up here nailed, I think. And that is, you over ask and you over threaten, and then you get what you want. Okay. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, but if you look at people have asked my thoughts on what's going on with Israel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my thought right out of the box when I saw the interview with Trump and Bibi and that, and they were sitting down,
Right.
I was trying not to laugh my butt off because when my kids when they were younger and they were fighting over a toy, I'd say no, that's mine now, and they'd get upset, and I'd be like, well, then you two figure it out, and you two work together and come up with a plan that's different than mine. Because if I have to get involved, it's mine now. Okay, I'll deal with it. And it's the same way that when I was supervising people in the military was I expect you to act like an adult, because like if I have to come down and micromanage you, I'm gonna micromanage you all the way, and you're not gonna like it. So you're gonna figure it out, or I'll figure it out for you at that point. And I really think, I mean, a lot of people I don't aren't looking at it that way. And I'm not guaranteeing you that's what he's doing, but Israel just got done fighting this war, right, to expand, and we all know about the Greater Israel Project and all that. So you just took away their prize at the end of the game, man. Because their prize was trying to get Gaza. So not only are you not going to be able to do that, the stuff that you've been doing for years about like shooting over that border, if there's U.S. troops there, you shoot at our troops, we're shooting back, buddy. And then forcing these Arab states that are, we support Palestinians, but then not supporting them. Put your money where your mouth is. Either prove it or don't. But we're not going to play these games for another 80 years where we're playing these games back and forth. And I really think that that's what he's doing. And that's just my personal opinion, because the other side of that is if I wanted to go in and document war crimes, I would probably act like the person's friend, just like we did with code stuff, right? Is you act like you're the person's friend, and then they tell you stuff that you sort of need to know. For those of you that don't know, is we actually called up a city and acted like we were the landlord, going to rent out a dilapidated place, and got the city to tell us how many codes we could violate by doing. So it's the same sort of thing. I think is that that's sort of what he's playing, because at least if I was going to do it, that's the way I would do it, because you're going to be able to document how much unexploded ordnance is there. And if you never had to deal with unexploded ordnances, I helped EOD go out and have to clear the range in that. A lot of the bombs don't fully go off. And some of the rock eyes for the cluster bombs or the rocket mortars, those things, they're very sensitive and they can go off at any time. You don't want little kids going to play with them. They're shiny, because they'll blow up if you put them in the wrong direction type thing. So getting all that cleared out and making sure it's habitable while preventing aggression. And I think that that's probably his plan. I'm not Trump, and I'm not a Trump supporter. The good stuff he does, I've called out, but I also think that he's a shill, in my own opinion, and a shill, yes, to Israel and others. So I'm not a Trump guy, but if I was going to do it, I would do it in a very similar manner. And if not, then you guys figure out how to play nice in the sandbox, because your shit's getting outside the sandbox and it's sort of ending up in my lap, and then it's my problem.
No, and that's what we're seeing is like it. Yeah, I just honestly don't know, because I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm not but I wasn't a Kamala or Biden. I was more about the people, and I want situations to get better. Do I agree with everything that Trump's doing? No, I don't. But I do agree with a lot of things that he's doing, him and Elon. But you also got to watch them. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, you can pinpoint all the things that the other side is doing, but what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Is it for only a certain few, or is it for everybody? And like I said, I'm not privy to everything that the dude's doing, but everything that I've seen that comes through media, I agree with the end of DEI. Yeah, that wasn't for us. Him going at U.S. aid, that wasn't for us either. You know what I'm saying? And other various things that he's done. I don't disagree with. You know what I'm saying? I do believe now if they're done right. Yeah, if you leave it to the people and not these dirty ass politicians, uh, I do believe we can make a change. I do
Well,
believe we can get
oh, I think that he realizes the problem that we have with demographics in the nation, which a lot of politicians, I mean, the GOP's up here in Minnesota yelling about the positive things about the deportations and that. Well, they don't realize that in some of your counties, like down by Worthington, right? And let's go down the list there, Austin, some
right.
communities like that, they're actually going to be affected. And I don't know if your apportionment of representatives is based on how many people are there, and these people are counted in your census, your number of representatives are going to go down. The inner city is going to get more representatives, and you go down the list. So, I mean, these are things that are going to have an impact on just at that level, let alone school funding. You go down the list.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying that the immigration stuff's bad, but I'm saying you have to think about these things when you're talking. You have to be able to explain to your community how it's going to affect them too, so that way they can be prepared. And when I say that, nationally, we've had an expanding economy because since the 70s, we haven't had a replacement birth rate. So the way that we've gotten new workers is by importing them. After World War II, a lot of the places, there wasn't enough jobs, so they created up jobs. It's where you have the middle management, the front desk secretary, the whatever else. They literally created up jobs, especially for college graduates after World War II, after the GI Bill and all that, right? So you had all these college graduates that really didn't have anything to do, so you had to have something for them to do. A lot of companies can streamline back down to, what they need to be, but we also don't need to be having these fake jobs if we aren't able to fix our streets, if we're not able to do some of the infrastructure things that you have to do as a society without plumbing, water, sewage, and electricity or heat.
Right.
There's going to have some issues. And so I do agree with those things needing to be done. He's using AI to do it, but the left was going to use AI either way. And so I was warning people about it when he was running. And at this point, I think it's too late to warn. The AI is already being implemented. And so I don't think that there's any scare tactic needed, but just realize that AI is now going to be taking over our lives. And then for some of the replacements for workers, they're looking at robots. And
Right.
so when these people do get deported, they're looking at robots filling some of these jobs. So I just would like your thoughts on some of that.
Well, yeah, because I mean, especially when you look at, ICE came out with this has been out for a few years or whatever, but places that were, we talk about the, sanctuary cities and sanctuary counties, you know what I'm saying? And there was I think there's like 12 in Minnesota. So there was like Pipestone, um, there's Lincoln, there is Lyon, there is
If you
Nobles.
have a list and you want to share it, you can too.
Oh, I can do that. Okay, so yeah, there is like a whole list out here. That especially in southern Minnesota. Oh damn, maybe what did I do to the sanctuary? Because yeah, when you look at the map, a lot of them everybody thinks that it's mainly the Twin Cities, but you look at the map and it's not. It's a lot of it is southern Minnesota, and that have a lot of, and these are Republican ran. That's the one crazy thing for me is like they're Republican ran cities and counties, and it's like they're Republicans there. So how can you sit here and you have all this, but yet you have our law enforcement doesn't want to get involved, but y'all harassing. I can't understand this. How'd I get on this map
I can't see the screen share on my end. I'm not sure if you can see it on your end.
I don't know if I can either. I haven't shared it. I was trying to get to it.
He's gone over on his show multiple times and he's shown the map. I mean, like most
Right.
of them are outside the 7-county metro area. It's
That's
not
what I'm
just
saying.
here.
Of like looking like Jackson or Blue Earth and Candy. The biggest ones are Minneapolis, Ramsey, St. Paul, Brooklyn Park. Hennepin County. I'm actually, you know what? Let's see if I can pull this up. See that? That's crazy as hell. It's not taking me back to the same. Oh, here it is. I finally got it. Finally got it. All right, now I need to share. All right. But if you look at this map in Minnesota, you see right here, you see Lincoln County. So, and this is, I want people to know is that this is public information. These aren't things that are like hidden. These are all counties in Minnesota that ICE cannot go in and grab people. They can't, the detainers don't mean nothing. So you have Dakota, this is the Twin Cities, all Anoka, Ramsey, Hennepin, Candioi right here. Here's another Cottonwood. Lincoln. Nobles, I think I already said that one. But yeah, it's all literally like Jackson. You go all into that area. So if you think I think there was a like 18 years ago, ICE came in to a factory in I want to say it was in Blue Earth. They went
Growing up, they used to all the time at the Golden Plum factory.
Right.
My mom was working up at that over by Wilmer or something like that. And they used to come in and like within 6 months, the guys would be back into work. So,
right.
But I mean, they were hard workers, and you know, my mom was white, but not many white people wanted to do that job of cleaning the chickens.
No, and that's what's crazy is because okay, so we all seen that egg prices are skyrocketed. We've seen that, you know, chicken is and all these recalls. But honestly, who wants to go work in a factory, you know, killing pigs or hogs or you know, killing the chickens or cleaning because I will tell you right now is that when I first moved to Rochester, Minnesota back in 94, and then I went to go work at PPP, which was a quality place in Austin, which was, you know, they had whatever you want to do it with Hormel. And there was a lot of white people. But now you look at it, those are low paying jobs. And I'm going to say that they're low paying jobs. So why would anybody, mostly Americans, go get those jobs when at the end of the day, y'all don't even want low class people around you? You have that saying, NIMB, not in my backyard. So why
NIMBY.
Right, you know what I'm saying? So it's like I don't understand it. Like we get in an uproar, but do we not understand what it's going to do to our economy?
Just like everybody with the "We welcome everybody" signs right next to their home security sign.
Right, and you see some of the biggest protests right now. LA's been protesting about immigration, ICE, for 6 days. They closed down one of the biggest highways in LA, 110.
Immigration's how they've maintained their level in the Senate and stuff like that, and their elected representatives, because they've actually had a lot of outflow of people. If they didn't do that, man, their population would be a lot less.
And that's crazy to me. And what I don't understand is like, do we want to get these people out of here? So why don't we use the individuals that want to be here? Let's say like the American dreamers, or I shouldn't call them American, but the dreamers, or you know, the people that came over here, student visas or work visas, and they want a better life. Because at the end of the day, I don't look at an I shouldn't say immigration, but I don't look at a person that just came over here, because we actually started that war. It doesn't, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter if it's, you know, Ukraine and Russia. We started that shit.
And there's a better way to do it than what we're doing. And that's all I'm saying. It's like we don't need to let everybody in, but we also don't need to keep everybody. There's some balance there that we need to talk about. And you can't without demographics. But I'm gonna let you get the last word in, and then we're gonna take about a 10-minute break before we get into the next episode of Minnesota's history and that.
I just want people to be informed. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot going on in our Minnesota House, in our capital. And all I wanted you people to do is to be educated, so that we can be liberated, because until we all free, ain't nobody free. So with that being said, this is your boy, the Urban Conservative. Winner, fail, freedom, or jail, heaven or hell, wish me well.